In this video, I'm going to show you a super easy way of drawing a bright, colorful fantasy world map. For my map illustration, I'm going to be using Posca paint markers. I absolutely love these things because they put down a nice, uniform, very bright, saturated color, but you don't need these markers to make a bright, colorful map. You can use whatever you want to color your illustration. The only trick is you have to be able to draw some black line art over top of whatever you color with. Okay, I have all of my Posca pins spread out, and I'm gonna start on just a scrap sheet of paper, trying to figure out what type of geography, what sort of biomes or different areas that are gonna go on my fantasy world map. So basically what I'm doing here is picking a solid color for the background of the biome, and then I'm gonna draw a simple icon on top. So for my map, I'm coming up with 6 different biomes. We have water or coastline, some grassy forest areas, mountains, deserts, swamps, or like wetlands, and then a more fantastical fungal mushroom area. I'm only doing 6 biomes, but I encourage you to use even more colors, come up with even more fantastical places for your map. So I'm keeping my icons pretty limited for this map, but you can go crazy and make unique icons for each location in your world. And the cool thing about working on this scrap sheet of paper beforehand is that you can figure things out, mess up, make mistakes, and you don't have to worry about ruining your final map. I'm also drawing a few extra little icons for towns and roads and stuff. These are the locations that can go in any biome. I hope you can tell just how easy it is to draw all of these icons. The footage is sped up, but you can pause it or see the examples later on in the video, just how simple it is to draw these trees and little towns and forts and stuff. Okay, so I've got all my colors figured out. I'm actually going to be using some micron pens, various sizes of micron pens, to do the line art on the final illustration map. I'll have links to all of the tools that I use to make this map down in the comments, so you can check those out if you're curious. But now I'm ready. It's time to actually start making this fantasy world map. So I'm setting my reference off to the side, and I'm grabbing a fresh sheet of paper. I'm using smooth Bristol board for this because I've really found that you need thicker paper for these Posca markers so that the paint doesn't bleed through, and it helps to have a smooth textured paper as well. If there's any sort of bumpy texture to the paper, like watercolor paper or anything, the Posca markers will really start to chunk up the paper. Okay, so I've started here with the blue, and I'm just making some outlines of the world. I'm drawing in the coastlines, and for this map I have no plan whatsoever. I'm just sketching and making stuff up. But if you have a specific plan for your world map and want to figure out where all of the places and locations and biomes go, it might be helpful to sketch it out on a separate sheet of paper first, and then you can jump in drawing the coastline, the outline, like this. Now with the outline done, I've started making the biomes by filling in like blobs of color. I've started with the gray color, the mountains, but that doesn't really matter. It's a fantasy world, you can do whatever you want, so you could start with the grass areas or the swamps, whatever. Just start making these blobs of color and filling in the inside of the landmass. It's kind of like you're making some sort of weird rainbow camouflage pattern, but really you're just populating your world with different biomes. It's almost like you're loading into a Minecraft map or something. You're really just saying this section is the desert, this section is the forest, this section is the mushroom area, there's a little mountain island over here. You're not actually worried about any drawing, you're just filling in the solid color. Now if you're using Posca markers like me, it's helpful to shake them up before you start coloring. This'll give you a more even coverage. It's never perfectly flat color, but that's okay because we're going to be going over these areas with black line art, and you won't notice any little inconsistencies in the color. Once I've got all my biomes colored in and everything's dry, then I draw the rivers and I just go right over top of the color. I like to, kind of have the river go from the mountains and wind around towards the coast or a lake or something. The cool thing about these Posca markers are that once they're dry, you can color over top of them. So if you make a mistake, it is fixable. The next part of the process is filling in the coastal areas. I'm actually going to be using 2 different blues. So near the coast is going to be the shallow area that's lighter blue. And then further away from the coast, it will become dark blue. But I'm actually going to wait to fill in that area until the end because the paper is kind of warping. Even this nice thick paper is going to bend a little bit once you start adding a lot of color with these paint pens. Again, I'm gonna take a little break, let things dry, and then start drawing in some of the icons. Well, just using a few of the other colors to like get the bases for some of these icons. So for the trees, I have little dark green circles, and then I also have brighter green triangles for the pine trees, and then little orange ovals for the mushroom fungal areas. And again, you can really see how perfectly the color goes on top of other color once everything's nice and dry. Okay, now it's time to start actually drawing these icons with the black pen. I'm using an 0.5 micron here, and because I already figured out how to draw each of these biomes, all of the little icons that fill up these solid color biomes on the other sheet of paper at the beginning, it's super easy to fill up this map. I like to call this Zen mode. I'm concentrated on drawing, but it's not taking my full brain power because I already know how to draw these simple little shapes. And I just love this part of the process. I'm taking my time, very slowly bringing this tiny world to life. I say slowly, but in just a matter of minutes, entire forests and mountain ranges are springing up. And as I'm drawing, I can't help but start imagining what kind of adventures I would have in this crazy world that I'm drawing up. Like I said, I don't have a plan for this map. I don't know any of the names of these locations, but that doesn't stop me from thinking about who lives in this crazy fungal forest, or how do people survive in the desert or the swamp, what it would be like to travel the road from one side of this island to the other. And as far as the drawing goes, you can really tell all I'm doing is filling in the areas with the icons that represent that biome. And I'm not worried too much about filling in the sections exactly. If there's a little section of the forest that's not filled in, you can just add a tuft of grass or some dots in the mountains. I'm trying to leave room for the roads and the towns, but it'd also be better to just figure out where those go first and draw them in, and then fill in the rest of the biome with the little icons around them. My hope is that you can see just how easy it is to draw these little icons. And what makes a map like this really cool is the color and how complex the whole thing feels. Not because the individual drawings are complex, but once you start combining all of these different icons and colors and stuff, that's what makes the map look more complex and interesting and just fun to look at. All right, now that the whole thing is filled up with these icons, I'm gonna go back and outline this big island continent. I'm using the 0.8 size micron for this, and I'm just going around the outside edge. I'm not dividing each of the biomes with a black line. I'm just doing this to separate the land from the water, basically. And I'm also giving the sort of bottom edge of the outline and making that a little bit thicker. And that just makes it look like the island is kind of, raising up out of the water just a little bit. Simple little trick to make things stand out just a tiny bit more. Make this detailed map a little more easy to look at. And this part of the process is also really fun because you're kind of containing in your world and you can really see how this map is coming together. The last thing to do is to fill in the darker water areas, all the space around the outside that I've left blank. I'm grabbing the darker blue and just coloring it in. This part can feel a little bit tedious. Maybe that's why I saved it for the end. I'm excited to finish this drawing, so I'm willing to put up with the most coloring. But I actually think it's all also a little bit meditative, taking my time to fill in this vast ocean that surrounds this world that I've created, and just use this moment to enjoy the process of making a fun illustration and creating this fantasy world. The last thing to do is just to add some wave icons around the edge of the map, and then we can call this unnamed fantasy world done. I really hope you give a map like this a try. It's super easy to do and very rewarding because it looks great with not a ton of effort. You just have to take a little bit of time, be a little bit patient to color everything and then draw the icons on top. I'm really proud of how this little map turned out. It's absolutely something I would be psyched to share at my D&D table, or just snap a picture, share it online, give it to a friend, hang it up on my wall even. If you like this video and are interested in supporting this channel, I have a Patreon where I release monthly tabletop role-playing game zines. This month I'm working on an adventure with my friend Kyle Latino for our new game Starborg. Going to be super fun. I also have an online shop where you can order the past zines and stickers, enamel pins, all kinds of fun stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!